Welcome. Today, we are stripping away the glamour of the South Florida luxury market to reveal a truth that even the world's most successful entrepreneurs miss. We are talking about the trophy property fallacy. In 2026, luxury is no longer defined by how much you spend, but by how much of that value you can actually protect. The biggest mistake high net worth buyers make is confusing a statement home with a liquid asset. When you spend $20 million on a waterfront estate in Coral Gables or a penthouse in Sunny Isles, you are entering a micro market with an incredibly thin buyer pool. We call this liquidity asymmetry. While an $800,000 home in a top school district can sell in 14 days, a $25 million trophy home might sit for 18 to 24 months. If you haven't accounted for the carrying costs, which in 2026 include astronomical insurance premiums and specialized security staff, your investment is actually a high maintenance liability. We will analyze the over-customization trap. Many luxury buyers spend millions on hyper-specific amenities, subterranean bowling alleys, specialized car elevators, or climate-controlled art galleries tailored to a specific collection. While these add personal value, they often create a functional obsolescence for the next buyer. In this hour, we break down the math of cost versus appraised value in the ultra-luxury sector and why the most expensive home on the block is almost always the worst investment. The bid-ask spread, the hidden cost of ego. In the world of standard real estate, the gap between what a seller wants and what a buyer pays is usually 3 to 5%. In the ultra-luxury sector of South Florida in 2026, that gap, the bid-ask spread, can be as wide as 25%. Why? Because luxury pricing is often based on aspirational value rather than comparable sales. A seller in Star Island might list their home for $40 million based on the fact that their neighbor sold for $38 million. But if that neighbor's house had 100 feet more of water frontage or a specific architectural pedigree, the $40 million ask is a fantasy. Luxury buyers make the mistake of using the ask price as a benchmark for value. If you negotiate $5 million off a $30 million home, you might feel like you won. But if the actual liquidity value, the price at which the home would sell in under 90 days, is only $18 million, you didn't win. You just paid a $7 million premium for the privilege of owning a trophy. We will analyze the absorption rate of properties over $10 million and why market time is the ultimate predator of luxury equity. The white elephant syndrome, over-customization versus marketability. Let's talk about the white elephant. This is a luxury property that is so highly customized to the original owner's specific, often eccentric tastes that it becomes nearly impossible to resell. In 2026, we see this in the form of mega basements or themed wings. I've seen buyers spend $3 million on a professional-grade recording studio or a temperature-controlled indoor tropical forest. While these features are engineering marvels, they are value subtractors for 95% of the next buyer pool. The mistake is treating your primary residence like a hobby. When you overspec a home, you are shrinking your exit door. Every hyper-specific room you build requires you to find a mirror buyer, someone with your exact same hobbies and net worth. In a cooling market, finding that mirror buyer is like finding a needle in a haystack. We are going to look at the functional utility score and why the most successful luxury investors keep their renovations high-end but neutral to preserve the widest possible exit path. Carrying cost velocity, the silent burn rate. Most luxury buyers calculate their mortgage, but they fail to calculate the carrying cost velocity. In South Florida, 2026, owning a $15 million waterfront estate is like running a small corporation. Between the new 2026 hurricane insurance premiums, the specialized seawall maintenance, the 24/7 private security detail, and the smart home technical support, the burn rate can easily exceed $50,000 to $80,000 per month, excluding the mortgage. If that property sits on the market for 2 years because it's overpriced, you have just burned nearly $2 million in holding costs alone. This is what I call negative equity velocity. The house is literally eating your capital while you wait for a better offer that might never come. We will break down the luxury holding audit, a tool we use to determine exactly how many months a property can stay vacant before it destroys the initial investment's ROI. Liquidity asymmetry, the first out rule. Finally, we need to understand liquidity asymmetry. In a thriving market, luxury moves fast. In a shifting market, luxury is the first thing to freeze and the last thing to thaw. The mistake luxury buyers make is assuming they can exit whenever they want. They see the wealth moving to Florida and assume the music will never stop. But the music always stops, and when it does, the doors for $20 million homes are the first ones to lock. We teach the first out rule. Your luxury home should be purchased with the assumption that you are the most liquid person in the deal. If you can't carry the property for 36 months of zero market activity without stressing your other assets, you are over-leveraged for the luxury sector. We analyzed the 2026 cash to debt ratios of the most successful South Florida families and how they use luxury real estate as a store of value, not a speculative bet. The brand dilution when the logo isn't enough. In 2026, South Florida has become the global capital of branded residences. We have buildings with the names of Italian supercar manufacturers, French fashion houses, and Swiss watchmakers. The mistake luxury buyers make is assuming that the brand premium equals investment security. The truth is that a brand is a marketing layer, not a structural one. We are seeing a brand dilution where developers use a famous name to justify a 25% markup over the neighboring building, which has the same views and the same construction quality. You have to ask yourself, am I buying the real estate or am I buying the licensing fee? In a resale scenario, the second buyer is often less impressed by the logo and more focused on the price per square foot fundamentals. If you paid an extra $2 million just for a brand name, you are starting with a deficit that requires massive market appreciation just to break even. We analyze the resale velocity of branded versus non-branded luxury towers and why the quiet luxury buildings, those without the flashy logos, often yield higher long-term returns. The assessment trap. The 2026 structural crisis. This section is a critical warning for anyone buying into high-rise luxury in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. The assessment trap. Following the structural integrity laws passed in the mid-2020s, every building over a certain age is now facing mandatory aggressive reserve funding and inspections. Luxury buyers often fall into the trap of pretty buildings with ugly balance sheets. You walk into a lobby with $5 million worth of art, but you haven't audited the association's 10-year capital improvement plan. In 2026, we are seeing special assessments ranging from $100,000 to $750,000 per unit in older luxury towers to cover concrete restoration, roof replacements, and elevator modernizations. If you buy into a building without a deep audit of the reserves, you are essentially inheriting a debt. We teach you how to look past the concierge and the infinity pool to find the structural health score. A building with a high HOA but a fully funded reserve is a far safer investment than a building with low dues and a looming $20 million repair bill. Municipal fragility, auditing the city, not just the house. When you buy ultra luxury, you aren't just buying a plot of land, you are buying into a municipal infrastructure. This is where most high net worth individuals fail their due diligence. They audit the house, but they don't audit the city's treasury. In 2026, we are analyzing municipal fragility. Is the city you are buying in, whether it's a barrier island or a coastal enclave, prepared for the infrastructure costs of the next decade? We look at the city's debt-to-income ratio and their investment in flood mitigation and hardened utilities. If the city has to raise property taxes by 30% to pay for seawalls and pumping stations, your $10 million home just became significantly more expensive to hold. We provide a city risk index for South Florida, comparing areas like Coral Gables and Weston, which have massive municipal reserves, against newer or more vulnerable coastal municipalities that may face tax shocks in the near future. The amenity burn rate, who really wins? Finally, we have to talk about the amenity war. Every new luxury tower in 2026 is trying to outdo the last. They offer house cars with private chauffeurs, in-house medical centers, and cryotherapy chambers. But here is the mistake. Amenities are a depreciating asset. The staff required to run these services represents a massive fixed cost that is passed directly to you. If the building is only 60% occupied, which is common in the ultra-luxury sector, the owners who are actually living there are subsidizing the luxury for those who aren't. We analyze the utility to cost ratio. If you are paying $8,000 a month in HOA fees for a spa you use twice a year and a chauffeur you never call, you are losing $96,000 a year in passive equity. We show you how to find value luxury, buildings that provide elite security and privacy without the unnecessary glitz that drains your bank account every month. The glass box expiration date. In the luxury market of 2026, we are witnessing a phenomenon I call architectural burnout. Between 2020 and 2025, South Florida was saturated with ultra-modern glass boxes, minimalist cubes with floor-to-ceiling windows and white porcelain floors. The mistake luxury buyers make is confusing modern with timeless. Architecture has cycles just like fashion. When a specific style is overbuilt, it becomes a commodity. By 2026, the market is beginning to suffer from modern fatigue. If you own the 50th glass box in a neighborhood of 60 homes, you have no product differentiation. When you go to sell, you aren't competing on soul or character. You are competing on price per square foot against identical products. We analyze the resale premium of character and why properties with unique, high-quality architectural signatures like tropical modernism or updated neoclassical are holding their value 18% better than the generic modern spec homes. Quality of build versus quality of finish, the drywall illusion. This is perhaps the most dangerous trap for the high net worth buyer, the drywall illusion. Luxury buyers are often finish-driven. They see the Italian cabinetry, the Wolf Sub-Zero appliances, and the imported marble, and they equate those expensive surfaces with a high-quality structure. In 2026, we are auditing spec homes that look like $10 million mansions but are built with production-grade infrastructure. We are talking about inferior HVAC systems that can't handle Florida's humidity long-term, low-impact window glazing that won't survive a decade of salt air corrosion, and poor foundation drainage that leads to subsurface decay. The mistake is not hiring a vertical audit. You need an engineer, not just an inspector, to look at the bones, the roofing membranes, the post-tension slabs, and the electrical load capacities. If you spend $10 million on a house that needs $2 million in structural corrections after 5 years because it was built too fast, your ROI is decimated. We teach you how to spot a developer's cut, where money was saved behind the walls to pay for the shiny things on top. The smart home obsolescence cycle. Every luxury buyer in 2026 wants a smart home. They want the integrated lighting, the automated climate control, and the invisible sound systems. But here is the mistake. Technology ages faster than real estate. A smart home system installed in 2021 is already legacy technology by 2026. If the system is proprietary and hardwired, it becomes a liability during resale. New buyers don't want to inherit an old operating system that requires a specialized technician every time a light bulb needs to be dimmed. We analyze the tech debt of luxury properties. The smartest buyers are moving toward tech-neutral homes. Properties with high-speed fiber backbones and universal wiring that allow for easy upgrades without tearing down walls. We show you how to ensure that your home's intelligence adds value rather than becoming an expensive, broken toy that complicates your exit strategy. The resiliency premium, building for the 2030s. Finally, we look at resiliency as the new luxury. In 2026, a luxury buyer's biggest mistake is ignoring the climate reality of the next decade. A house that is just up to code is no longer enough for a luxury asset. The market is starting to pay a premium for hardened homes. We are talking about island power, solar plus massive battery backup, advanced water filtration systems, and elevations that exceed FEMA requirements by 5 to 10 feet. If your luxury home doesn't have a resiliency profile by 2030, its buyer pool will shrink significantly. We look at the data of hardened assets versus standard luxury and why the homes built to survive the next 50 years are the only ones that will truly build generational wealth. It's not about the view anymore. It's about the fortress value of the property. The 5-step luxury defense plan. We have spent nearly 2 hours dissecting the traps. Now we build the shield. In 2026, a luxury purchase is not a static event. It is a dynamic operation. The 70-30 land to structure rule. One of the most common mistakes is overpaying for the house and underinvesting in the dirt. In the luxury sector, your structure depreciates the moment you move in, but the land, specifically waterfront or high-value zip codes, is your hedge. If the structure represents 90% of your purchase price, you are in a high-risk zone. We aim for properties where at least 30% to 40% of the value is tied to the irreplaceable nature of the land itself. The Association and Municipal Forensic Audit. Never take an HOA's financial statement at face value. In 2026, we hire forensic accountants to look for deferred liabilities. We want to see the 10-year outlook on specialized staff costs and insurance escalations. If the building or community doesn't have a hardened reserve, it's not an asset. It's a bill waiting to happen. The dual utility model, protecting the floor. In this new era of real estate, the most dangerous word in luxury is exclusive. Why? Because total exclusivity often means limited utility. The smartest buyers in 2026 look for dual utility assets. These are properties that serve as elite primary residences, but also meet the rigorous requirements for high-end corporate or luxury short-term rentals if the market shifts. If your $10 million home cannot be leveraged for cash flow during a downturn because of restrictive local ordinances or a niche floor plan, you have no floor to your investment. We analyze how to select properties with flexible floor plans, homes that can transition from a family estate to a corporate retreat or a high-end rental. This flexibility premium is what ensures that you never have to sell in a down market. You can simply pivot the asset's use while you wait for the next peak. The luxury 1031 and currency hedging. We cannot talk about the exit without talking about taxes and global capital. Many luxury buyers fail to plan for the liquidity event. In 2026, the 1031 exchange remains the most powerful weapon for wealth preservation. But in the luxury sector, it requires surgical precision. We discuss how to roll equity from a non-performing trophy asset into a passive luxury portfolio. Think triple net NNN leases or high-yield multifamily units in emerging Florida corridors. For our international clients, South Florida luxury acts as a currency hedge. We look at the data of how holding US dollar-denominated real estate in prime Miami locations has outperformed traditional foreign exchange strategies over the last decade. Your luxury home is your personal central bank. We teach you how to manage the leverage, keeping debt low enough to survive volatility, but high enough to maximize tax deductibility under current 2026 regulations. The 2036 Strategic Vision. As we close this masterclass, look ahead to 2036. South Florida is no longer just a vacation destination. It is the financial and tech capital of the hemisphere. In a decade, the A-list locations, Weston, Pinecrest, Jupiter, Sunny Isles, will be fully built out. The biggest mistake you can make today is being short-sighted. The buyers who win in the next 10 years are those who buy resiliency, education zones, and irreplaceable land. Don't get distracted by the trend of the week or the brand of the month. Build your portfolio on the fundamentals of scarcity and utility. We are South Florida Home Finder team, and our job is to ensure that your luxury purchase becomes the cornerstone of your family's legacy, not just a footnote in a story with a financial moral. Follow the data, protect your wealth, and we'll see you at the top. If you are watching this, you aren't looking for a salesperson. You are looking for a strategist. The mistakes we've covered today are avoidable, but only if you have the right eyes on your side of the table. Here is your next move. Subscribe and stay informed. The luxury laws and municipal landscapes of Florida are shifting monthly. I am your eyes on the ground. Audit your portfolio. If you already own luxury assets in Florida, ask yourself if they meet the resiliency standards we discussed today. Let's talk. At South Florida Home Finder, we specialize in the rational audit of luxury assets. Whether you are buying or selling, we treat your capital with the respect it deserves. Thank you for your time and your trust. Remember, in the world of high-stakes real estate, the most expensive mistake is the one you didn't see coming.